All right, we're live.
Okay.
Yo, thank you so much for coming to the show, man. We really appreciate it. It was like raining today. I was worried if you were not going to be able to find parking or something crazy like that.
I found it. I mean, when I asked you and you said it might be a little difficult, I pretty much just took the first spot. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
You far away?
No, just down on the corner.
Sick.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming out today, man.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, like we were talking before we started recording, tell us what's happening with the studio. I know you got Street Dreams that when did you open that up?
So Street Dreams is my new private studio. It's located in Bed-Stuy. That's the neighborhood that I live in. So it's not too far from my place, which is convenient for me. Pretty much it developed out of COVID. I had been working at Flyride for almost 10 years, and I've always been kind of contemplating doing something on my own, but I wasn't exactly sure how it was going to manifest. Pretty much, we were made to stop working in mid-March. So I took a really long break. I wasn't able to do anything until, we were third phase 3. So, after kind of just sitting there feeling like, I was going to starve or something, I decided to be proactive and try to set this up. So what I did was, Street Dreams has kind of been like this visionary thing that I've always been kind of like leaning towards for the past few years. I have a really weird like kind of burner Instagram account called Street Dreams NYC. It's basically like a mood board or like a lot of weird shit. I pretty much just like flood that feed with like whatever I capture, kind of like my influences and like personal like I don't know, like favorite imagery. So yeah, Street Dreams kind of is based on like the idea that we're all hoping to like make it bigger and like living in New York, it is a hard life here. So yeah, I just feel like it's just the vibe that I'm feeling, and it sort of manifested naturally. I wasn't sure about like what I was gonna call my project, but because I've had that account going for a while, and like my closest friends really like appreciate it and kind of like understand me through the content. I felt like it was just a natural thing, and right when I kind of like proposed it to a couple of close friends, everybody was like, yeah, absolutely, like that's the name for you. So
yeah, you call it's like a studio, right? But is it supposed to be strictly a tattoo shop, or how does it work?
So actually, no. My vision is that like this is now my like studio space. I've always wanted to start a studio practice, but it's pretty daunting in New York considering that like we pay rent, and trying to get a secondary space just seems like really unobtainable. So I was on the cusp of trying to start a studio practice for myself. When I was younger, I had studied painting in school, and I've been wanting to revisit that for a long time. But as you guys know, like we're in a rat race, so all I primarily focus on is tattooing. And I have like a really beautiful like multi-use space that I can kind of like try to like branch out a little bit more and kind of continue with like my vision a little bit. I designed the space so it's like it's modular, so basically like everything at some point, if I decide I want to like make a sculpture in there, I can pretty much push the whole studio to one side of the room and like do as I please.
Is that how you feel right now in terms of tattoo shops being closed because of COVID? You have time to kind of project your visions into like making them happen?
Yeah, what's funny is like going into this, I wasn't sure how it was going to unfold for me, but I had an immediate like really huge response, and I've been tattooing nonstop for months now. So I'm super fortunate. I haven't had time to like really focus on creating any art at the moment, but I know that like the way that life moves, like we're gonna have like ups and downs, and I think the impact of COVID kind of teaches us that like we need to appreciate the like slower moments, and I don't know, I kind of feel like I'm sort of addicted to working now, and it's something I'm looking to find balance with. But I appreciate the momentum I have. So I don't want to like take my foot off the gas.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, you're talking about the rat race and living in New York is tough. It for people who don't live here, they don't really, maybe they just see the glamour and or who they follow on Instagram and they see what they see and they think it's all like fun and games. But nah, the people like you or people like a lot of the people we've had on our show, they bust their ass to make the things happen for themselves. They're a lot of them are in a sense self-employed or they do their own thing. And you really gotta go in to make shit like that work. And it's no different for you and what you do. And how did you when you know you said this is something that you've had the Instagram for a minute and you've been working on it. What did you like save up a little like section of money? All right, this is gonna go to the studio, or did it just kind of happen organically?
It sort of just unfolded. I mean, it was like one of those things where it was kind of like a big leap of faith for me. Sort of like a sink or swim moment where I realized like, you know, the future is uncertain and I wanted to have more control of like the direction that I was going to be going in. So it did require a lot like financially to get things off the ground, but at the same time, like when you start to invest in yourself, it really feels worth it. And I love what I do. Like I'm super passionate about tattooing and like my story and my artwork. So I'm always happy to like just do what I like put the money where my mouth is and sort of like do what I got to do to get things done. And it's funny because we all work super hard here in New York, but at the same time, I'm fortunate enough to be doing something that I really care about. So it doesn't feel like work. It feels like just like living a dream, you know. So
Yeah, we were just talking about that before you came on, how I feel like working a 9 to 5 that you truly don't have a passion in, maybe it's hard to find this drive that you feel that you're doing something you really enjoy. You feel like your days are very routine, very structured in a way where you're always in a rush, always doing things under stress. So we respect people that have like a do-it-yourself mindset so much, man, especially in a city where it's very hard to come about and do these things because a big reason is the financial reason. You know, things here cost so much money, so it's hard to make a project that will flourish because it's a huge risk in a way, putting all the money you have into something. But
well, I've learned a lot over these past few years. I mean, kind of like you know, these things are very cliche, but like to reap a reward, a true like reward, you do need to take a risk. And not everything's gonna feel comfortable, but I feel like some of the big chances I've taken have really like been worth it. So you know, that's definitely some advice to give to others, especially younger people. You know, it's hard to have the confidence to do it. I mean, we all struggle, including myself. So there's times when, you know, you're just not sure if you know, you're going the right way. But I think if you just, I don't know, I think if your intentions are pure, then like people sense that and it usually like works out for the best.
Yeah. You say you wanted to have more control over like your life and your situation, which is why you opened up the Street Dreams. It was just weird to me because I feel like, you know, I'm not a tattooer. I don't know how that world works, but wouldn't you have less control? Because in this shop, if you're part of an established shop already, you have like these people coming in, people know about the name. Whereas you start your own thing, you lose all of that. How do you have more control now?
Well, I mean, I'm at the point now where like I've been tattooing long enough that I'm fortunate to have a good client base. So people are happy to come to me specifically for my work, and I'm really proud and lucky. So so in terms of like the control, basically, I suppose it's more like I can kind of determine the mood. I can sort of like set the stage, and I can kind of like decide like, you know, what I feel like doing that day, or you know, or not. So to a certain degree, when you're working for someone else, you know, I'm always happy to try to like do the best I can for the team. So now I don't necessarily have to like worry about others, and like I said, investing in myself just feels right, and I ultimately kind of have the last say now. So you know, I really have a lot of freedom. What ended up happening.
I understand. Are you the only artist working there? Are you open to other people coming in and partnering up or working, if someone wants to tattoo out of Street Dreams, would you be open to that?
Yeah, I actually have a second station. So at some point, I'm mostly gonna have guest artists coming. I have several close friends around the country that do come and work with me from time to time over the years. So from this point forward, I'm sure they're gonna be there, which will be really nice because I think the best thing about the studio is that I'm working closely with a lot of other artists in terms of like my clientele, and the whole conversation has changed. Now it's like, this is my workspace. What do you do?
Yeah.
Tell me how you do things. And it's this kind of like brainstorm, snow globe or something. It's really beautiful how it like actually sort of comes together. You guys will see. I would like you to come visit like soon as possible and
Yeah,
get a
I'm
sense of
definitely
what's going on.
Yeah. There's on your Instagram, you don't have as many photos of the space. Is there any reason?
I think because it's a private studio, I want to maintain that sense of privacy. I think I'm gonna slowly just kind of like leak imagery and like people will get a sense of it. I would like it to unfold naturally, and if clients are in there and they're posting photos on their story, someone will get a glimpse of the space, and I think that's enticing, and there's a bit of mystique, surrounding tattooing, and I think there's a magic that's involved. So this is just sort of my way of like contributing to that.
Yeah. Over time, you've built a reputation for yourself that a lot of people find appealing. Like your style, the person who you are, your connections to graffiti. I feel a lot of people would be very interested in what you're doing right now with this project, this new shop that you're in. I think I would personally want to visit, honestly, and even get like tattooed if anything.
Dude, you guys are welcome anytime. I mean, it's really cool. It's appointment only. So it's interesting because of the privacy and the fact that like we're in COVID, I'm trying to minimize traffic. So it's basically like a one-on-one situation for every appointment. And I'm making time to like have friends come through, like just trying to schedule it. Like my life is way more like organized now at this point. And, but like I said, like everything just feels like great right now.
So you opened it during COVID?
During COVID, yeah. I started the build out, I don't know, April, May, June. I think, so June, I made the decision to take the space, which felt totally insane. Signing a fucking lease in the middle of a pandemic.
When did everything close again? I don't remember.
March.
It's March, yeah.
So like I sat for months, you know what I mean? Like kind of unsure. I went to see several studio spaces, like kind of like, shopping for like the ideal location. I had a vision as far as like what I hoped for, and I pretty much like fell right into it. It's tough being an artist here, and now I understand like a new level of like people struggle. There's a lot of them. People that we know that are working in like super small studios that are like, very expensive, and like I think I hit the middle ground. I was able to get like a really nice space with like huge windows, and it's in like a very like private building close to my home. So like it's like the best,
like really good case scenario.
Worlds. Yeah, just kind of like really worked out. I feel like I kind of had like a sense of where I wanted it to be. And I had no real leads on the space. I literally one day was just driving, pulled my car over, got out, and went into the building and was like, yo, what do you guys have? And they were like, here it is. So the first space I saw was the space that I took. And like I said, I had been like looking at other shit like through Craigslist and different listing sites. And I was looking at like crazy spaces that were nasty. They were like partitioned with like, like no window, and they were like 100 square feet for like $700. Shit was ill. So I was like, nah, I can't do this.
Well, you're talking about risk, and it's funny when you do it yourself, you take a risk, like we said. But I feel like you took a risk that is not very common, because in terms of this pandemic, a lot of people lost their businesses. A lot of people got run out. A lot of people lost so much money. lost a lot of what they've been working on.
The last thing on people's mind would be to open one up.
To open one. Yeah.
Sounds insane.
Yeah, it felt insane, honestly. And like I said, I mean, I contemplated like doing a storefront. I I have a large collection of like vintage flash, and I had everything to fill the space out. I just was kind of like, I'm really happy with my choice because my clients seem to really appreciate it and feel like very comfortable too with a more private situation. So yeah, like things are uncertain, and I kind of went down the middle road, and it seems to be a good choice. So.
Yeah. If somebody wants to hit you up for an appointment, they just DM you?
Yeah, I'm excited. Basically, I encourage people to DM me through my Instagram. I also am happy to have people email me. A lot of times too is that, like you had mentioned earlier, I'm no longer at a storefront, so I don't get the foot traffic that I had gotten in the past, which was a good amount of my like bread and butter. Tattooing walk-ins and meeting new people. But everything's kind of changed, and we're communicating differently now. So I actually feel like a huge uptick rather than necessarily a loss. I also do tell my clients like directly, like, hey, I'm on my own now. Like, this is word of mouth. If you guys got friends that want to get tattooed and like my work, please send them my number, send them my Instagram, like contact me directly. Like, I'm an open book, so I do what I can.
Yeah, it's really just about adapting to what's going on right now, and every moment you got to just be adapting. We're living in a place where things are shifting every day, regardless of this COVID, no COVID. Things are always changing, and as someone who's self-employed now, you gotta really be on point with all that. And like, I think out of COVID, a lot of things are changing and people's mentalities change. You started this thing up in COVID. We started this thing up in COVID.
Yeah, cool.
Because of it. And like, like COVID, yeah, it's terrible. But out of these things, some good things can flourish, such as like, I can only imagine how amazing it is to have your own space. Like, I would feel thrilled. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
it's exhilarating. Like, honestly, like exactly what you said. I don't think I would have necessarily taken this leap the way that I have had we not been thrusted into this situation. And I've had some major ups and downs. Like, we all have. This shit is not easy. We really had a lot to deal with during this, and I do think there's a silver lining, though.
Yeah.
I like to believe that we're going to come out of this like a better society. I mean, I think it's a long road, though, like straight up. I think we got like several years of dealing with this now. So I'm trying to live like moment to moment rather than like always like looking to the future, or I spent a lot of my life like living in the past at times, which I realize is not very healthy. So I'm working hard on like appreciating like what we got and kind of like try to enjoy yourself, because you never know. So
yeah, absolutely. All we have is just this moment right now, and we don't realize how finite life really is and how finite our time really is. We seem like, oh, I'm this age, I got a bajillion years in front of me, that's gonna be forever. But you really don't know. Even if you do have, let's say, what best case scenario, live until you're like 100 or something. Like, if you put down like in a chart the weeks, it's not as much, and that doesn't only apply to you, but it applies to your friends, your loved ones. And you don't know when these people who are right here so close to you that seem so permanent because they've been around for so long and you've shared so many moments. Any moment they could just be out of things that are just outside of everybody's control. And like we were talking before with the passing of your friends like Zexer and Acne, you've been dealing with it, and it's hard to deal with. And I was actually, right before you got here, I was just lurking on your Instagram, and I saw a post that you made. There's a few pictures of some Acne and Zexer stuff, and it was just, the caption was along the lines of just really just tell your friends and show your friends and show your loved ones that you appreciate them now, because you get into a little stupid fight in the moment, and you don't know if you're gonna see them again. You don't know what is gonna happen, and it could all really change quick.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, the situation with Zex and Acne have been like really challenging for me. So, I mean, it's definitely changed my perspective quite a bit. I mean, truthfully, the situation with Josh is like, we weren't as close as we used to be, like around his passing. He's been a close friend of mine for years. He was like one of my main bombing partners, like my early years living here in New York, and he's been family, ever since. So, but the last couple of years, we remained friends. We were in contact, but I just didn't see him as often as I wish, and these things happen, and looking back now, I wish I would have like spent more time with him and like made more efforts. But like we were both in this time in our lives where, there's a pivotal point, like kind of like in your 30s, where like you're just making, I was working really hard on my career, and so was he, and we were just kind of like, we just didn't make enough time to see each other. But we reached out, and he knows that I love him and care about him, so he will always be in my thoughts. As far as Zach's, like, that really fucked me up. That was heavy for all of us. Like, everyone in New York like felt it. He was like a little brother to me. He was truly like family. Him and I had a really interesting connection. We met when he was quite young. I don't even remember the like. I'm not good at remembering like timeline shit. It's just not my nature. But him and I have been friends for quite some time, and one of the reasons why we bonded was because his father was living in Buffalo, New York for a little while. Obviously, his dad's originally from Brooklyn, and I don't know exactly why he was in Buffalo, but he was there for on and off for a couple of years, and he was a pretty prominent and active graffiti writer in the beginning of my career. So I was very familiar with his work, and I really looked up to him style-wise. So like one of the first things that Matt and I bonded over was like the fact that like I really looked up to his dad, and he did too. He lost his dad at a young age. I lost my father at a young age, so like we just kind of like it just brought us closer together. So him and I had a really beautiful relationship. There was a lot of like back and forth. Like I did my best to mentor him in a lot of ways. I was always there for him, no matter what. And he was actually an amazing friend too, because he was so intelligent and really insightful. So like if I ever had like ideas or doubts or like anything, I could bounce these things off of him, and he would always give me like a great answer. His closest friends know that about him. Like his instinct is insane. Like he can really sense like what's really going on just from like, it's like a second nature kind of thing. But actually I was thinking about this a couple of days ago. I mean, shit, I wish he could see me in the studio now. He would be so proud. He would be telling the world for me, and I am proud of it in a lot of ways, especially because I know he would be happy for me. So yeah, like that was so tragic and sudden and like really mysterious also. So like there's just this sense of loss, but I feel much better about Matthew in a weird way, because him and I were so close up until the very end that there was never any like gray area or time that we didn't know that we appreciate one another. He was super emotional and like vocal with not only me but all his closest friends, like telling them how much he cares, and like that stuff like means everything, like. So I think of him all the time, but also like yeah, I don't know. It's hard to like put into words, but
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, really all of us are just finite. Even if we pass now, we pass 10 years or in 100 years, and all like I was saying before, all we have is the right now. So it's good that you and him, he's left with a lot of energy and a lot of like I feel like sometimes someone will come across you in your life, and when they leave, you have so much, like it gives you like this like fuel to really continue going. I have some certain people in my life that whenever I'm undergoing any type of struggle, I'll just remember these certain instances, and instantly I'll just be filled with like, I need to, like, this is gonna go down, and it'll just fuel me in a ton of different ways. And it's like their energy is still reaching you even if they're no longer here. And it sucks that things happen the way they do, but it's like, what can we ask for? It's like we're all finite, and all you can just be grateful that you have people that you have been able to touch you in this way. Not everybody does. You know what I mean? Like, do you think that the passing of these people has left you with that sort of like some sort of like energy inside of you that helps you overcome certain instances, or do you like Was there like a serious depression phase? How did it go?
I mean, the grieving process is really strange. Like I had mentioned to you guys, I lost my dad when I was quite young. So, my like teens and 20s were like really up and down. I think that it could take anywhere from a lifetime to like a few weeks, or months or something. So I think every situation is different. I think the thing with Matthew is like it was a really big shock immediately. So like I did a lot of like kind of digging deep, like right off the bat, and I think you're right. It is a driving force. I do have some comfort in the fact that like I know he's there for me and he has my back, and he always has. So it's a nice thing to fall back on, to have those ideas. And we had talked earlier as well about this being a rat race. So you do need motivation from time to time. You do need some like kind of like bursts in your life to like keep us moving forward, because you can burn out. And it was crazy actually. The initial setup of my studio was like quite challenging, like during COVID, waiting for fucking packages every single day, trying to get help from all my friends with like little menial tasks, speaking to my mentors, and like trying to hoping for approval. I didn't reach any like major hurdles other than like just the annoying kind of like time restrictions that we deal with during the COVID. And so it was quite taxing. Initially I really worked myself to the bone, but then I took some time and took a nice break, and I'm quite refreshed, like, and feel much better than ever. So
Because of the fact that a pretty good amount of graph writers are known to pass when they're younger, do you have any resentment or any kind of negative feelings towards I wouldn't say the graph scene, but just graph as a whole, as like a thing that like, there's no way around it. It comes with a lot of negative things that affect people's lives in a lot of negative ways. Also has a lot of positive to it. But do you ever feel like, why did this have to go down like this?
Yeah, I mean, it's something I thought a lot about. It's a really crazy, I don't really know how to describe it. It's just it's a crazy lifestyle, like we're living pretty ill life. And, yeah, a lot of writers take big risks, to try to like, stay motivated or just, we're just living pretty wild. So yeah, there's some ups and downs. Excuse me. I technically, I'm so grateful for my graffiti experience though, because, most of my closest friends are writers, and like I really, other than watching a lot of writers pass, like quite often is pretty difficult to see. So there is kind of like a undercurrent that's like hard to explain, but I overall have a positive relationship with graffiti, but I tend to kind of operate as like a lone wolf now, probably based around the fact that it is kind of like a crazy like lifestyle, and I'm really working hard to stay on like a positive track, especially because I feel like my general optimism has like helped me get beyond a lot of difficult situations. So during this time period of COVID, like we definitely have to like make some big choices. Is this serving you, or is it hindering you in some way? And I think making some proper edits is a good way to like kind of like look at life. But I have a really tight knit like graffiti family. Like these people are like, I owe them a lot, and I also am like really grateful to call like a lot of writers like my close friends. So yeah, I mean, I've had time periods where I felt like graffiti was very toxic, and it's not about like the actual like art of making graffiti. It's more like the lifestyle choices that we all like deal with, including like drug use and like, just general kind of like wild choices.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
So,
think, yeah, like you're right. That coronavirus, if anything, I think it showed a lot of people that they have to kind of slow down, take a step back, and reevaluate what they're doing with their lives. Like I said before, working a 9 to 5, you get so caught up in that routine, that hustle and bustle. You don't focus on yourself. You're so busy pleasing a corporation, pleasing your boss, getting a paycheck, focusing on your kids. It's hard to take a step back and figure out what's good for you. And people, I feel like, are kind of looking at their health now, trying to see, focus on things that they haven't done before.
Yeah.
And what I found amazing with how you with your tattooing is that when this did happen with your friends, they passed away, I seen that a lot of people came to you to do those tribute pieces.
Yeah.
You were like, it's amazing to see that all these people came to you and knowing that you're a close friend of theirs. How does that feel, just to apply tattooing, something you've been doing for so long, to something so personal as such as the passing of your friends,
I mean, it's an amazing honor, like being able to tattoo like close friends and family of like my friends that have passed. Like, it's part of the healing process. Maybe that's something that helped all of us. Like you had asked me like, how long does this take? I don't know. I'm still going through it, but at the same time, like, you do get to share stories and the fact that like a lot of people look towards me for these things is like, I can't say how grateful I am. It's truly like the biggest honor. So yeah.
Yeah, it's strange how when someone passes, like you said, it could take weeks or years. Because I lost my father too when I was 7 years old. And yeah, maybe I don't cry every night, because it's been such a long time. But it's strange when I do think about it. It has affected my life in one way or another. Like certain events were different because I didn't have my father. Or like I came up a different way. But I feel like in a way it was all meant to be, to experience this and become the person who I am.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to think of these things because, like, we have so many friends, so many acquaintances, but at the end of the night, we're alone with our thoughts. So we take on these experiences very personally. It's very important to accept these things and think them through and not deny them, because if you gather all this thing and make all the noise, like cloud your mind and not accept what's going on, people, that's how, it's not a good thing, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, suppression is not going to do much for us, but, I can't deny that I haven't done that as well, but yeah, I was thinking of something that you mentioned earlier too. I don't want anyone to feel bad about working a 9 to 5 either. This is something we all have to do to get by, and if that's your path right now, like, consider it like a means to an end, because you're fortunate, not you necessarily, but that whoever is doing this is fortunate enough to have the opportunity to survive, which is something that a lot of people are struggling with. So like, yeah, I can imagine. I mean, I've been lucky. I really haven't had to do anything like that. I've pretty much been a working artist for about 15, 20 years now, which is kind of a phenomenal thing to realize. I remember it was sort of an epiphany moment when I realized that, like, I'm living in New York City, surviving, thriving off of making art, tattooing, doing commissions, doing little side jobs, like whatever comes my way, like making choices based on this. And like the realization that, like, being a tattooer, I consider myself an artist, like, first and foremost. So like, it's just my currency, which is pretty amazing, like freedom.
That is amazing. And
yeah,
you're dealing with things in a positive way. I was wondering if there was any period of your life where you weren't doing that and you were really on a negative trajectory.
I mean, yeah, of course. I've struggled with depression throughout my life, like, the grieving process of like losing my father at a young age, like, I've done a lot of lashing out and like crazy shit, like, kind of, which I realize stems from a lot of that. And I don't really have advice for anyone, because like, I'm not even sure how I ended up kind of like manifesting through that stuff. But as far as, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought a little bit.
It's all good, bro. Just asking you about, like, if the point at where you were at a negative
Oh, yeah,
trajectory
yeah.
in your life. And
So yeah, I have had some negative time periods. There's been a lot of drug use, like in my life, and like with the people around me, and I try to to see these experiences as a way to learn and grow, um, and yeah, I mean, there's positive aspects to this stuff too. I recently had a conversation with a close friend, and we were talking about, dark periods and darkness, and, the duality sort of idea, and the fact that like you can't experience like hyper positive moments without
yes.
having like, some moments in obscurity, I suppose. So yeah, I mean, we've all had some major ups and downs. I mean, we've been through it. I've been through it all. Relationship issues, stuff with like close friends, and so life's a long road, and I've seen a lot.
how'd you get into
Graffiti? I
You got into it in Buffalo, right?
Yeah, I started writing in Buffalo. I grew up in Buffalo, New York. I've been living in Brooklyn for the past 19 years. And when I was in Buffalo as a kid, I remember this quite well, actually. I mentioned this in other interviews too. The year that Spray Can Art came out, I was gifted that as a Christmas gift. My mother was a teacher for the Buffalo Public Schools, and she was really sweet and supportive. She is still very sweet and supportive. So like, I don't think she realized like the can of worms she opened by like by like giving me that gift. But
so you didn't write at the time?
no, I was a kid.
Okay.
I mean, the book came out I think when I was 8 years old. That's when I got it.
Okay.
So like that was just like, I had been drawing. I was really into comic books. I was into like cartoons and like illustration, and I've been drawing and painting my whole life. So when I got that book, it just kind of like was this like mind altering moment where like I realized that this was possible, and then I don't think I stopped exploring these ideas like ever since. I didn't start writing graffiti until I think the like late 90s, mid 90s, late 90s. I started dabbling. In Buffalo, I fucked around with just like spray painting like side of the garage and the back in some alley in the neighborhood, and like some like cuddy little spots in the woods, like whatever I could find I would like go, we were doing that. And then I don't think I really started focusing on graffiti as much as when I moved to San Francisco. So I went to San Francisco right out of high school. I was fortunate. The reason why I ended up going there was because growing up, my mother's best friend lived in San Francisco. So that was like a place that we had visited a handful of times. And I fell in love with the city. Like it was one of my like first dreams was to like move there.
Really?
So yeah, my first opportunity, I remember just like trying to find a college to go to. My mother was really supportive. She really encouraged me to like, pursue higher education. So she was with it, and like basically she helped me the best she could to like get in over there, and yeah, I went to school out there, and that was like a pivotal moment. I started seeing like good graffiti there. Yeah. At the time, there was a lot of crossover. There was incredible. Like San Francisco had an amazing scene. This was '97, and there were a lot of New York writers and like world traveling writers like passing through. I think it was kind of like looking back, I had like a really amazing moment, and I got to see the tail end of that. So,
how does it feel to look at the scene now in San Francisco? Because I only can picture it as if it was New York City. Like I would think how does imagine New York City just got completely buffed, no graffiti at all. I would be like, that's crazy. I would want to move right away. Like, it would just feel like a very unnatural place because it just loses its touch of, sanity in a way.
Yeah, how did that happen?
Yeah.
You know, I don't really know. I mean, I was lucky enough to kind of like, I spent about 4 years there, and then like I came back to Buffalo for a short period of time, and then I moved to New York. So I didn't really see the ultimate decline, but I was so in love with that city that I was actually visiting quite frequently, and I watched it kind of deteriorate that way. But I don't have an answer. I think it just got really square. It just, I mean, the tech shit happened. That was well after I was there. It just got kind of like corporate, like whitewashed, and it did feel like a really special, like cool, creative city, and it felt like very similar to what I envisioned New York would be like. But I think it's a different energy, so they just weren't able to like keep that vibe, and the graffiti quality in San Francisco like really plummeted. Like these kids, I think maybe it was, I think this. The lack of style in terms of development actually happened probably because of the buff. I would like to theorize that, the graffiti felt less precious because it was probably like getting taken out at such a rapid pace that these kids didn't try to even hone the craft.
That makes sense.
So they were just fucking around, scribbling on shit. So that just seems like what happened. But to be honest, like, I sort of let that go, on my San Francisco experience. It was very formative for me, going there right out of high school. But, and I felt very like married to that city for a long time. I was very loyal. But then once I came to New York, like everything changed. This, was where I was meant to be. And like, it was a nice
What made you come from SF to New York?
Well, basically, I when I finished school, I was in Buffalo for a small amount of time, and I just was craving that big city life. San Francisco was very like adventurous and exciting, and there's a big city energy there that I really crave. So New York just seemed to be the next direction for me. Interestingly enough, I didn't come to New York often when I was a kid. We had no ties here, my family, so there was no real reason. My mother, as a single mother, she wasn't dragging two boys to New York City. I think it was a pretty like difficult task. We've come through the area, but I didn't start visiting New York until I came a couple times on my own when I was around 18. And then, living in San Francisco, I had to kind of like started to relate the city life to what I envisioned it must be like in New York. And the dream kind of evolved from there.
When you moved out of Buffalo to go to SF, how was the Buffalo scene? Because you're saying that in SF there was a high quality graph, and I've never been to Buffalo, but I know some pretty good writers have come out of there.
Yeah, Buffalo's interesting. I think that Buffalo doesn't have a super strong history. The writers that we were able to look up to were like predominantly like Puerto Rican kids that had like ties to Brooklyn, including like Matthew's father and like his friends, who we later became friends with. So Buffalo's one of those interesting cities. I mean, it's quite old-fashioned. It's very segregated. It's almost quadrants. I lived in Buffalo, in the city of Buffalo, until I was 13, and then my mother moved us out to the suburbs. She was able to get a house for us, so that we were really fortunate for that. So I've seen Buffalo kind of like, really struggle. It's a very poor city. It's just the economy is just awful. So like I feel like a lot of the people in Buffalo, there wasn't that much graffiti at the time, because I think like kids weren't comfortable with like, they weren't traveling very often and getting like outside influence, and the graffiti that developed there was quite strong, but I think the original roots are actually most likely from New York. So there wasn't too much happening when I came from Buffalo to SF. I wasn't that familiar with like there wasn't enough of a history there to like to give me a gauge of what's good necessarily. I had a good sense of like tagging and throw ups from like the kids that I admire from Buffalo, but there's just wasn't much happening. Also in Buffalo, I was really lucky to have trains around me. It's a huge like industrial city, so there's just mad train yards and freight trains. So one of the ways that we became familiar with graffiti when I was first starting to get interested was just looking at the trains. So we would make efforts to like watch the trains, bench the trains, start to photograph the trains. I was always looking for like New York shit. I was always looking for like anything good. So
it's crazy what you can see on those freights, man. You walk in somewhere and you're like, yo, this dude's what, man?
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
It's insane.
Yeah, they're like, it's like a message in a bottle.
Yeah, it's really crazy. But back on the Buffalo thing, you know, in one of the attacks, I think the only attack interview, he speaks on you and how you mentored him and stuff like that. How did you meet him and how did that unfold?
Yeah, Attack is like a close friend. Obviously, he's like family to me. And we met, I think, in a pretty natural way. He was kind of like a younger version of myself to some degree, very eager and like hungry for information. And kind of like Buffalo's such a small city that like when you cross paths, like you're able to make those connections. So I'm not exactly sure how we met. I'm sure he remembers because he's like sharp as a whip. But like, but yeah, like I've been really fortunate to watch his career flourish, and like him and Hurt are like two of like my favorite writers, and
two of my favorites too.
Yeah, and I'm lucky.
It's just throwy as yo.
It's insane. I mean, these kids really honed in their craft. They're so focused on like their work, and they're so knowledgeable about like their influences. It's just really impressive.
They're really sharp, man. Their graph is very unique, very sharp, and I remember I was driving from somewhere like on a highway. I was not in New York, and I had like a stomach ache, and I'm like, yo. So I stopped by a random rest stop to use the bathroom, and I'm like in the stall, and I'm like literally dying. And I look over to my left, and there's the illest Attack scribe, and I look at it, and like the haze of me dying, and I'm like, yo, this is ill. And then I just like I looked at it, and now every time I walk into a stall, in my mind, I'm like, it's gonna be
Dude,
there.
He's a scribe king. Bro, I mean, for real. Like he's traveled the country like countless times. I mean, he's so driven, and I'm so impressed with like the dedication. But yeah, I knew exactly what you were gonna say. I mean, you can go into any rest stop from here to Seattle, and you're gonna see an Attack.
His style with the sharp edge, nobody does that.
It's very unique.
Yeah, he really developed his own thing, and actually, I think that is the beauty of Buffalo, because like we said, there wasn't necessarily like a super rich history, other than the small pocket of writers who we admire to this day. So I think like Attack, he really ran with his feelings, and just developed this really special, like cool, like thing, you know.
But they go hard in Buffalo if you get caught, right? I remember seeing some story a minute ago on Hertz Graham about him getting booked or something really deep, something crazy that they went in. Was that in Buffalo?
Actually, his story is phenomenal. I mean, you guys should contact him actually, and do a talk with him, because he has a lot to say. I don't want to say too much about it because I don't know the ins and outs. But like, yeah, he got in trouble, and he's been dealing with the legal system to this day. It's really unfortunate, and I'm not sure how it all happened for him, but it wasn't in Buffalo. He got in trouble in Pittsburgh, in Pennsylvania, and they basically made an example of him. And I mean, he's been dealing with this for quite some time now, and it's really a phenomenal story. And I think he needs to tell it on a larger scale so that you guys can like spread the word, because it is about like, you know, basic rights and like kind of awareness of like, you know, it really is would you say poignant to like the current situation. The fact that like, you know, we're dealing with this like battle with like law enforcement and shit like that. So you'll, when you guys get the chance, I'll put you in touch. I'm sure he would love to share his story because he needs support, and I really care for him. And
yeah, the people gotta unite,
crazy.
bro. The people gotta, like, you know, there's probably he that dude at least has like a lot of people who are gassed on his stuff. They could, if everyone just donates even just $2, if he has legal issues or something, if there's like, you know, 10,000 people, that's $20,000. There could be a big difference with just each individual doing a very small portion of what they may have. But I was gonna ask you, have you ever thought about moving out of New York? I know that you love this city, and this is a place where you've built a lot of the stuff that you know, everything you've kind of built from the ground up. From your reputation, your graph. A big part of it is because in New York, if you had done that somewhere else, it wouldn't have been the same effect as if you do it in New York for every writer. And then you know, Street Dreams, needless to say, you ever thought about leaving the city in the future?
You know, we all deal with our moments, I'm sure, like, what the fuck am I doing here? This is insane.
Yeah.
Especially during this time period, you know. But also I feel like weathering the storm, like you come out like a stronger person. I have a lot of love for New York City. New York has done so much for me. It's done everything for me. I've just had unlimited support and like potential, and the amount of like exposure and reach you're able to obtain just by being in proximity, and the contacts and relationships we have here is just like priceless. There's no way to like ever recreate that in any other place. So you know, I don't know, man. It's one of those things where it's like, you know, do I want to like, you know, die an old man here, like fucking renting like a little apartment like for $1 million? Like, I'd rather not, you know. But I have some dreams, you know. I'd like to stay in this region. You know, there were some times when I thought about moving to other countries. I fell in love with Paris for a while.
Yo, that place is amazing, man.
Yeah, it's
very similar to New York, though.
It's very similar energy in terms of like the way people operate. And I considered living there for a while, but I think I might have gotten it out of my system. I was going twice a year for like 10 years.
I went like 3-4 summers in a row, but I haven't been for like a year and a half.
It's freedom. It's free. Yes. I mean, Paris is changing though too. You know, the world is changing. So like, it's beautiful to see that like we're making a big shift, and I think some of the like things that we really appreciate about New York are gonna like come through, and the cream will rise to the top type of shit. I've considered Mexico City.
I know you were there not that long ago, right?
Yeah, I was there last year. I've been going since I was a kid. My father is Mexican, and so half of my family lives in Mexico. So I make big efforts to go down there as often as possible, because I feel like it's a big part of my story and my identity, and I really Mexico City is like a world-class city. It's crazy because I remember like even in the 90s, like people weren't really visiting very frequently. It was still considered super dangerous. Our parents' generation though, like spent a lot of time going down there. Excuse me. At least like bohemian, you know, people that were like exploring and like interested in the arts. It's just been a cultural mecca for thousands of years. So I have a dream to live there. Like, I don't know if it will happen. Now I'm kind of envisioning maybe splitting my time at some point, like maybe do like 3 months in Mexico every year and try to like come back and forth, because it's easier than ever with like internet as like your main form of communication. And we have such a large friend network that like, you know, I'm pretty comfortable traveling the world at this point, and I would like to get back to that, but who knows what the fuck.
It's honestly beautiful, man. The network that you have now with the cell phone, the people you can meet, the people you can connect with, it's amazing, man. Especially living in New York. You know, there's a lot of downsides to living in New York, but there's a lot of upsides. And we could do stuff like this. You could do Street Dreams. You know, like Claw can do her thing, or like Just can do his thing. You can't do that in other places, man. You like there are places you could do it, but I'm saying like the majority of America, there's little pockets. But in other places, it'll be very, very difficult for you to take it to the level that these people have taken what they've done.
For sure.
You know what I mean? It's really crazy. I asked you because I always ask a lot of people that who live here, because it's always kind of like the same thing. Like yeah, but no, and I have like you've traveled a lot, right?
Yeah, I've been lucky. I've gone to Europe several times, and I've explored Mexico pretty thoroughly. And I've been to like South America, but yeah, I mean, travel is a big part of my experience, and yeah, this is a perfect launch pad. You know, being located in New York, you can always kind of like go anywhere since we're like the central hub. You know, it's I can't imagine like letting go of that. So
we talk a lot about moving out, or we fantasize about how it would be to move somewhere else.
Yeah.
But it's thanks to New York we could do things like this. Like we literally have like 30 guests within a 3-month period, and that's thanks to New York City. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If we were out in North Carolina or
We'd be screwed, bro.
in the cut of somewhere else, like maybe we could over Zoom, but all of them would be over Zoom. So it's but there's doing this in person is a lot more beneficial. It's more natural. But I was going to ask you, you've lived in Brooklyn for 19 years, you said, right? What kind of changes have you seen? Because we talked about earlier how San Francisco, the graffiti scene pretty much got like wiped out. Do you see that happening in New York City? Because, yeah, it seems like it's not because people are pretty active. But when you really think about it, it's pretty possible. They have the money. They have the equipment. I was just talking to my friend Nairo. Dude, like before when you would hit high spots, like that shit would run for a minute.
Yeah.
But now they have all these booms, all these like cars that pull up and they have like a lift on them.
Sure.
And they just clean everything and they have the money to do it. So do you think it's a possibility, especially with all this gentrification, all these new buildings coming up? They have the money.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I think anything is possible. When I first moved to New York, there was a good amount of graffiti, actually. I was able to witness a large amount of stuff, like relics, still kind of floating around from like the 90s and like early 2000s. So I'm really lucky to have witnessed a lot of that as well as participated in that. But at the same time, I've also seen New York. I've seen New York kind of get buffed, man. I've seen like several waves now where like it wasn't that interesting and there wasn't that much happening. That they were cleaning shit quickly. With those, well, like you said, with those like vans and shit, they're going around like looking at Manhattan. Like there was a time when like every gate was filled in, and you know what though, we're getting back to that. That's what it's actually starting to look like right now.
It's looking good.
It's looking sweet, but I don't know if it's just because of circumstance. Like you said, we have the means, but I don't know about now. Yeah. I mean, financially, like we're struggling. Like
that is true.
So I think we could have like a little golden moment where like I think right now there's a lot of great things happening and a lot of like young writers that I really admire. So it's cool to see like people putting in work and
absolutely
and going in.
Yeah, I'm from South Brooklyn and I see streets that I would never in a million years think those gates would get hit, and now they're all filled up. There's no space on any of the gates, so it's pretty sick to see.
No, it's really dope. Manhattan is super filled in right now. Like downtown is getting there. It's awesome. I think the next step for kids is like start expanding, going back up into Midtown and like kind of like moving around, because these little pockets, they kind of grow, As far as like what I witnessed in Brooklyn, I've always lived between like downtown Brooklyn and Bed-Stuy, in that little zone. That's like kind of like where I feel most comfortable, and like I'm proud to like call it my home now. But yeah, man, I seen a lot of crazy shit. I seen like, ups and downs. Like I've seen these high rises get built and I've seen them like sit vacant.
Yes.
I've seen like neighborhoods look like they're going to turn over, but like, now we're starting to see like things are kind of like going back to something, I think like the greed has like kind of like caught up with itself. And I'd like to believe that like, in due time, there will be a balance, or slightly adjustment in terms of like, looking out for like people that like of the neighborhoods. And
hope so.
I mean, I don't know, man. The prices are astronomical here, so I can't really imagine like how it would have to be a really big shift. But
I mean, like you said earlier, there's a duality and everything. The time will come. We just don't know when, but it's not, you can't be in one extreme forever in anything.
Yeah, no, we're getting closer though, I think, to like something really interesting, like I'm actually kind of feeling excited talking with you guys about all this because it's getting my mind going, just kind of envisioning like what's to come. We don't know, but I'm hoping for the best.
Yeah, we don't know what's coming, man. There's some stuff coming.
Yeah.
But we don't know what it is.
I think this is a calm before the storm.
Yeah. For real, man.
I think we're getting ready for another shutdown, which is fucked. I don't want to believe that, but I'm trying to be realistic. Excuse me. And I don't really, I don't know, man. I all this stuff is really hard to fathom. Yeah. So I'm not sure like what we're in for, but I know it's a long road.
Yeah. When did you fuck, yeah, I just lost my train of thought. Give me a second. Oh yeah. When did you stop? Because you're not as active anymore. Why did that happen?
I mean, I had to focus on tattooing and graffiti helped me like release steam and cultivate like amazing friendships and express myself in incredible ways. But I also needed to take a break because in order to focus on a career, I think like you gotta kind of like take a time out sometimes.
Like sacrifices.
Yeah, there's a balancing act. So I think that's the main reason. Plus, I'm older now. I'm at the point now where it's like I want to do graffiti if it's fun. Yeah. Yes. I'm not trying to like to make it my job anymore. There was a time when it was a job for me. It felt like that, but I still loved it. But I didn't have anything to worry about. I was like, I was living day to day, and I was, surviving on fucking beer and deli sandwiches, and so like that was sick. That was an amazing time for me. But like I said, I'm also not trying to live in the past. I will always care about graffiti. I will always do graffiti. But I think like I just have to kind of like maintain an even keel, because it can get out of control quickly, like we discussed. So you never know. It's but life's unpredictable also, so you have to enjoy it. And if I'm out and my friends are popping tags, I'm gonna do a tag too. If people are, if I get the urge to paint, like I'm gonna go paint. But like I said, it's about fun for me now. If it starts to feel like stressful or anything, like it's just not worth it.
I wanted to talk about your clothing. I've seen you you make designs and stuff, but clothing.
Thank you.
Supreme. You have connections with that. What's that? Yeah. What's that about? What's coming up with that?
Yeah, dude. I've been really fortunate. I've been making shirts for quite some time now. Primarily, I think some of my earliest shirt designs were based around like just making something as like a promotional item for tattooing, and then kind of being involved in like Grateful Dead scene. It becomes like a way to like make money when you're on the road. So I was really excited to like kind of contribute to this like history of like bootleg shirts and it's a whole art form in itself. So one thing led to another, and it's just been incredible. I was really fortunate. I got to do a design for Supreme that came out earlier this year, and that was like a huge like one up for me. I really respect them and their choices, and to be like involved in that story is like huge for me. I definitely have a lot more stuff. I'm always working on stuff. I have a little side project called Heads Will Be Heads. It's like it's primarily around like the Grateful Dead like imagery, but it's also supposed to be like my vision for that, as well as is it's basically an art collective, and I'm bringing friends in and other talent to try to kind of like cultivate something unique. So it's kind of like a passion project. Of course. And fortunately, it also puts money in your pocket. So like I'm happy to like do something I really care about, and like you know, be able to kind of like thrive from. So that's something I'm always working on, putting shit out with heads. And then I have other things in the works, and I'm always taking and doing commissions when they come my way. I just did a really cool mural for Vans. They opened a new skate park in Bushwick.
Sick.
They brought me in as like a local artist. They're trying to support like people within New York, and I was chosen to do like a crazy mural for them. It was mad fun though. It was a really large spray paint mural, basically graffiti piece, and I had to use one of those cherry pickers. Yeah. My first time using one of those, felt sketchy as hell, but also like learn from it. Like shit, now I can operate one of those, and like now I have another trick in my book, so I can like kind of continue to expand as an artist. And shirts, I'm just passionate about like the history of the t-shirt and the imagery. It crosses over well with like my aesthetics as far as like tattoo.
Did you make that?
This is one of the shirts that we put out earlier this year. So.
Sick.
Yeah, you have some actually really cool designs, because I see a lot of people on Instagram, you know, I get all these sponsored ads and stuff of people trying to promote an image on a t-shirt, and I can't lie, like a lot of it is not really that attractive, you know, it doesn't really look that good. I don't know why, but I went on your like you know, your catalog, and it looks, honestly, I'm not even kidding, I'm down to buy some shit because they actually look pretty appealing. How could anyone like contact you or purchase a shirt?
Everything's through my Instagram. I have a Big Cartel link on there that's always active, so people can like kind of browse my stuff. I appreciate you asking about that, because it's something I'm passionate about, kind of like what we discussed in the beginning. If you're doing something you care about and your intentions are pure, they usually work out. Like that's a life lesson that like I've discovered. So like that, if that's any advice to anyone, it's like, yo, just do what you feel, go with your feelings, and like just try. Even if you're unsure, people can sense the sincerity, and it usually goes well for you. Right, I think.
Man. Dude, we wish you the best with everything you're working on, man. I really hope to thrive. We hope to come visit you soon. I want to check it out, man.
Yeah, please, man. I can't thank you guys enough for taking the time to talk with me. And
yo, thank you for coming.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks for driving out here, yo.
For sure. No, I'm happy. I'm happy to come out. And yeah, please come through soon. Just reach out, and I would like you guys to come sooner than later. And
hopefully next week we can like record some stuff for the video and stuff.
Yeah, it'd be cool. I mean, you guys can probably even maybe shoot some photos in the studio and like get a sense, because like as we discussed, it's kind of secret, but like you get a good sense of like kind of what I was talking about. So.
Sick, man.
Sure, definitely.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yo, thank you, bro.
Yeah,
thank
have
you,
a great night.
Lions.